9.3, solving quadratic equations. The first way we're going to learn to solve quadratic equations is by graphing. And you want to keep in mind that we are solving for x. That is our goal here, is to figure out what will x equal. So in example 1, x squared minus 1 equals 0. But when we go to graph, we're actually going to graph y equals x squared minus 1 instead of 0. So now when we go to create our table, as you look to the right, we have x and we have y equals x squared minus 1 and we have y. So we graph just like we did in the previous lessons. So we fill in our table and I'm going to choose the values -1, 0, 1, and 2. -1 squared minus 1 is going to give me 0. 0 squared minus 1 gives me -1. 1 squared minus 1 gives me 0. And then 2 squared minus 1 is 3. So we're going to plot our points. -1, 0, 0, -1, 1, 0, and 2, 3. I'm just going to reflect the point 2, 3 to the other side of the y-axis and have -2, 3. Now I have my parabola. And the only part that is new is finding the solution. So when we look at this, we're talking about the solution. We're looking for where it crosses the x-axis because we're looking for what x equals. So if you look here, this ordered pair is 1, 0. And this ordered pair is going to be -1, 0. So we look at our x values. We have two solutions because it crosses the x-axis in two places. So the solution is the x-coordinate of points on the x-axis. So in this case, we have two solutions plus and minus 1. So that means that +1 and -1 are both solutions to the original quadratic equation x squared minus 1 equals 0. Okay, example 2 just has x squared equals 0. So just like we did previously, we're going to graph y equals x squared. So when we go over to the table, I'm going to use the same numbers that I used in the problem above. -1, 0, 1, and 2. -1 squared is 1, 0 squared is 0, 1 squared is 1, and 2 squared is 4. So we can plot our points. We have -1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 4. Okay, I'm going to reflect that last point 2, 4 to -2, 4, and then I can draw my parabola. This time when I look for the solution, the only point on the x-axis is the vertex. So this only has one solution, which is 0. Now looking back at the previous problem, just to review here, it had two solutions. It crossed through the x-axis at two different places, and I just want you to notice that the vertex was below the x-axis and it opened upward. So since the vertex was below the x-axis and it opened upward, it would have to have two solutions. When we look at the second example, the vertex was at the origin. So it would only have one solution because it's not actually going to cross through the x-axis. Example 3, we're going to graph y equals x squared plus 1. So in our table we have x, we have y equals x squared plus 1, and y. I'm going to use the same values for x that we used in the previous two examples, -1, 0, 1, and 2. -1 squared plus 1 is going to equal 2. 0 squared plus 1 equals 1. 1 squared plus 1 equals 2. And 2 squared plus 1 equals 5. So first we will plot our points. -1, 2. 0, 1. 1, 2. 2, 5. Reflect 2, 5 to have -2, 5, and draw our parabola. Keeping in mind that we're looking for where it crosses the x-axis, and you notice here that it doesn't. So there is no real number solution. So we looked at an example that had two solutions, we looked at an example that had one solution, and we looked at an example that has no solution. Now we're going to take a break from graphing and learn how to solve using square roots. 3x squared minus 75 equals 0. We're going to begin to solve this just like we would any other equation, however, keeping in mind that it is x squared and not just x. So we want to get the 3x squared by itself, so we add 75 to both sides. And we have 3x squared equals 75. Now we want to get the x squared all by itself, and since it's multiplied by 3, we're going to divide it by 3. And we have to divide the other side by 3. So we end up with x squared equals 25. Now we can find what x equals, because since it's x squared equals 25, we're going to take the square root of 25. And that leads me with x equals plus or minus 5. Remembering that -5 squared is going to give me a positive 25, and positive 5 squared is going to give me a positive 25. So it does have two solutions. And we solved using the basic steps that we always have, except for in the end we do have to take the square root. And then you can find both solutions. And that is solving quadratics by graphing and using square roots. So have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow.